The reason we're late is my coffee took some extra time. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live. We are here on our Sunday night, and I want to thank you all for joining us. We are simulcasting with KGRADB.com, KGRA on YouTube and on Facebook. And, of course, we are right here on our channel on YouTube, which is Dead Air Full Spectrum. Make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button. Don't forget also to click on the thumbs up and the reminder bell. Hit that for upcoming content. It's important you guys do that. If you're over in the other channels too, we've got some things that are going to be happening, some evidence that we're going to be putting up, some information that you're going to need that will only be exclusively on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. So you make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button. Ken, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm okay. I'm kind of like just laughing this tech issue we had off. It was kind of funny. We won't go into it, but like things happen on live podcasts, you know. But hey, it's nice to be here. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have something very remarkable, very incredible we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks, and your wait is over. Tonight's the night.
Yes, we wanted to get the proper things in order before we presented all this information. We wanted to make sure that we had it covered. We wanted to make sure that we could cover as much as we could in regards to your questions, your interests, your concerns. Ken and I have had 6 discussions about this over the last 2 weeks
minimum.
How are we going to handle this? How are we going to go through this? And so we're not joking when we say that this is a game changer. We're not joking when we say this is unprecedented. And we're going to get into that, but we don't want to just jump in right off the bat, because there are some of you who are regular KGRA listeners to all the shows, and maybe have not had the opportunity yet to meet these wonderful, wonderful people. And so we want to give you a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll release the the doves at that point. Ken, if you want, go ahead and do the introduction, and then
Sure.
we'll get into some fun stuff with him tonight. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining us there in the chat. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also want to tell you that after the 9 o'clock hour, we will be joined by the iconic Mr. John Zaffis, who will be joining us a little later on.
What?
To weigh in on what we're about to discuss. But without further ado, these are great friends of ours. 2 outstanding young people who are paranormal investigators who have been in this game for a while. One came to it because of his interest, and one literally was born into it. So we lost a little time, so we're not going to belabor the point. Let's bring on our guest for tonight, Cody DesBiens Satori Hawes, live from the Haunted Museum headquarters.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, it's definitely a pleasure to be here on this new platform. That's wonderful. Congratulations.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you.
You're looking great, even though, from what I understand from Ken, it was snowing up in your area of the woods earlier today, and none the worse. And I'm the one that's wearing the Santa Claus outfit, so figure that one out here in Florida.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I definitely got some of that today for sure.
Yeah. So, we wanted to get right into this because we have a lot to cover tonight. But for those who may not know, I think this is like the second time that you've joined us on this show, when, back on the old show. But again, you're coming to an entirely wider audience right now. And what we'd like to start off with, for those who don't know, who maybe aren't in the New England area, who are Cody DesBiens and Satori Hawes? how did you get involved in all this? And then I want to talk about a couple of your current endeavors. So why don't you take a little time and introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure.
Sure. So I'm Satori Hawes. Cody always goes, not to be confused. I'm Satori Hawes. I
Ooh.
am kind of born into the field. I did have that advantage a little bit because my dad is Jason Hawes, who founded TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, in 1990. About 2004, a show called Ghost Hunter started and took off, and that's kind of where my paranormal family is pushed into the media, and that's how I really got into it. I saw my dad helping people. I mean, before the show, I was born only a couple years before the show, so I just saw him going out every day and helping people, and what really pushed me into the field is I wanted to do exactly what my dad was doing. So I decided I was going to grow up and search for the paranormal too. He kind of passed it down to me.
Yeah, and I, like most investigators that are in the field today, I had an experience. You either get involved by having an experience or just, pure interest. And I was one of those people that had an experience when I was about 8 years old in the house I grew up in. And everybody that lived in this house was experiencing something strange. Even my Catholic, American, Italian grandparents were definitely experiencing some strange stuff, and they weren't really into ghosts. So the whole household was experiencing things which blew the door open to the paranormal as far as researching it goes. I started getting involved in everything, all the books and stuff like that. Of course, the TV shows came out, Ghost Hunters came out. That definitely turned me on to the whole team formation thing. I ended up joining my first team when I was around 16. It was hard, to find a team that would let me join, but I just wanted to learn about the equipment and things like that. I didn't really want to go on cases, just somebody to teach me the ropes, and I did. And then after that, I ended up finding Rise Up. After that team broke up, Ken took me under his wing and taught me some of the foundations of going into investigating and things like that. And then eventually joined TAPS a few years after that, and working with both till this day, Rise Up and TAPS.
Me too. I'm invited too sometimes.
You are.
That's right. That's right. You got to swear her in. And then fast forward a few years after spending some time here, and then a couple of seasons ago, you wind up on Ghost Nation.
That's right.
And my understanding now is we're waiting for the reboot of Ghost Hunters, and we're going to see you there as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So now is turned to Ghost Hunters, and you definitely may be seeing our faces once in a while. Yeah, who knows? Might show up.
I think just to reboot the show, I think Jason, your dad, should be in a wheelchair as Professor X for the next week.
I'll tell him that for you.
Hang on. I'll give him a call. I want to know.
Yeah. But, if you guys could, because unfortunately it's scaring the hell out of me, but there is this thing that is staring at us from over your left shoulder there, Cody. And there's a bunch of things that are in that location I'm curious about. Tell everybody about the Haunted Museum, how that came to light, and some of the items you've got there. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Is our connection laggy at all? I just want to make sure because we're kind of lagging.
No, I think we look good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. From this side, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So the whole museum started. So of course, I've always been interested in the idea that objects could hold some sort of energy. And the first thing that was ever given to me was a painting that belonged to my grandfather. It was passed down generation to generation, and his side of the family originated in Italy. And the story that was always told to me growing up was that my great grandfather would pray to this painting every single night, and on his deathbed, he was extremely scared to pass away. And he would pray to this every night. And one night he claimed that the painting started talking to him and telling him that everything was going to be okay. He had nothing to worry about. He was going to have a peaceful transition. And he ended up being, at peace after that interaction with this painting. So he passed away. The painting was passed down to his son. And then his son, which, was my grandfather who lived with me in that house I grew up in. And it was hanging in his bedroom as well. He would pray to it every single night. He also died at home. And in his final days, he had a very similar experience, saying that the painting was talking to him, telling his mom was going to help him cross over. And that really put him at peace as well. So when he passed away, the painting was given to me. And that was really the first object that really got me interested. After that, when this whole pandemic kicked into play, of course, we collected things here and there throughout the years on investigations and things like that. But when the pandemic came into play, we started really pushing out social media. And the videos that really took off were videos of us talking about objects that we had already received. And it really blew up. People started reaching out from around the world, telling stories about objects that they have and they wanted to get rid of and donate to the museum. So we've been kind of called this foster home for haunted objects now, because every object we have, we always give the option to give back to the family if they ever want it back.
And we're not horribly strict about it. You know, some people want to take them and never let them see the light of day. We want to educate people, teach them that we don't, personally, we do not think that everything is negative that has an attachment to objects. And we kind of treat them like foster parents. I love them like parents. I treat them with respect, and it seems to really work.
Right. And we just respect everybody that's come before us. We're definitely not the only couple doing this. We're not the only people doing this, or the best, or anything like that. There's plenty of people out there, and there should be. There should be, for sure. We're not trying to grow the biggest collection in the world. We're just trying to help people. That's the end result. Give them advice. The priority isn't to take this person's object. It's to give them advice to coexist with it, because a lot of times, like the painting that belonged to me, that I still own, I would hate to get rid of that. So giving advice to people to coexist with their objects is what we're trying to do. And if that doesn't work, or they just don't want it anymore and they want to donate it, then we're definitely open to taking it off their hands with the option of giving it back at any point in time. But till this day, nobody has wanted their object back, which is interesting.
Well, I mean, it goes deeper than that, actually, because you also label it oddities and curiosities as well. So it's not just strictly haunted objects.
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely. Yes. So we definitely have something for everyone. We have a whole Bigfoot, cryptozoology section.
Cast from original prints and prints taken from all around the country.
Yeah, all around the country, some around the world. And we just want to give that little extra. So if somebody's not interested in haunted objects or the paranormal in general, if you visit one of our exhibits, you're going to learn something about history. And every object has a case file. Every object has a case file that you can read a little bit about each one. And in the end, the main goal is keeping these people's names alive and the history of the object alive. Like, we have polio braces that were used on, some innocent child. So telling the story on a new generation that maybe never heard of polio, and telling the history behind what was going on, you end up learning something at the same time, keeping this child's name alive and his memory alive, and telling the paranormal story at the same time.
Well, now I know recently you have taken this show on the road, so to speak. So tell us a little bit about the traveling museum that you've put together for us.
Sure. The traveling portion is a temporary thing that's probably going to last for about 3 or 4 years. And the main goal is to get a permanent location someday. But currently, right now, there's 2 types of traveling exhibits that we're doing. That's definitely the vehicle that we pack everything into. And the main one that has been really popular lately is one of our smaller exhibits, which feature about 40 items. We take a little bit from each section of the museum: the tribal section, the miscellaneous section, the doll section, and kind of put it all together so you get a little taste of what's in the museum. Then we also do another type of exhibit where we go to a haunted location or a venue across the country. We set up about 150 objects that we've selected from the museum that really tell a good story, and we set them up inside of the location. And you can take a tour if you want and learn about the objects, and we'll give you a personal tour. Or if you're brave enough, you can investigate the location with some of the objects.
We promised ourselves and every spirit in our museum that this isn't going to be forever. This is just to earn enough money to get a permanent location where we can take care of them the proper way, where we can make sure they have temperature-controlled environments and people can safely see them in a setting that they want to see them in. So that's our main goal. So that's hopefully what we will achieve.
Very important. You want to keep certain things in a suitable climate.
Yes.
So, to avoid any kind of degradation. Got a quick question here. Jackie D, our friend Jackie, what gives objects energy was her thought.
Sure.
Wow, that's a good question.
So, at least in my opinion, and I think Satori will agree, most of our objects that we have, we think that it's just something that somebody really loved in life, something that somebody paid a lot of attention to in life, and in death, they just want to check in on it once in a while and see how it's doing.
And we do have darker objects, and our best answer for that as to what gives the object the energy is the intention. I believe our intention is everything. Religious intention, what we put into something. You can make anything into, I guess, something that's, negative, has negative energy if you put that negative intention into it. So our best guess is if something's haunted by somebody that loves it very much, maybe they just used it so much they gave all of their energy and love to it. So that's where they stay. They like to check in on it. For the darker objects, our best guess is they put a lot of negative intention to get that thing done. If they wanted to curse somebody and they put a lot of intention into it, you may be feeling that because of all the energy they put into that.
Right.
So it is really energy.
So essentially, go ahead, Cody.
But well, we have about, I want to say 350 objects somewhere around there right now. And do we believe every one of them is holding energy or has some sort of attachment with it? At least it hasn't shown itself to us. A majority have, but a majority haven't. And I think it might be because it's in a new environment. It needs to get acclimated. It's not in the same environment where it used to be active. So I think once in a while, a spirit might come in and check on something that they loved and then might go back to doing whatever spirits do on the other side,
Yeah, I think that you have to apply the same reasoning that we like to label things residual. When we hear footsteps or an object being dragged, you go and check it's not there. It's not necessarily a ghost. It's just an imprint of energy on that location. So if it can be a floorboard or a wall or a dish or a pot and pan, why can't it be a tribal mask or a doll or anything like that? So if we apply that same type of theory to that, then it really isn't that much of a jump or a leap of faith that, objects the same way, especially when they're handled very often and they come into contact with us.
Yeah.
Speaking of haunted dolls, I wanted to get to this right away. You have an unusual boarder there.
Yes.
And she is okay.
She's up there.
So, why don't I want to show a clip, but the clip I'm going to show, why don't you give us a little background on Eliza? What's her problem?
So Liza was actually one of the original objects in our museum. She was given to us by a gentleman who contacted Cody after a podcast. And pretty much what this gentleman said over and over again was, make it stop, make it stop. So we were concerned something psychologically was going on there. We calmed him down and he said he was dealing with a doll. She said her name was Liza and that she was speaking inside of his head to hurt himself and other people. So a red flag goes up because now we're like, this is a safety concern for not only you, but anybody associated with you. So our first thing was we wanted to make sure he was mentally sound. We had people look into this and kind of give us advice on the situation and talk to him. And it seemed that he was okay. He was just going through a really, really tough time. He wasn't, his life was kind of falling apart, as he put it. So we said, if you didn't like this doll, and we don't promote the destruction of objects, haunted or not, but why didn't you try getting rid of it? Why didn't you destroy it? And he said, well, I tried getting rid of it. She just keeps coming back. What he meant by that is he had thrown her away in the dumpster and the garbage man took her out of the dumpster, cleaned her up and put her back on the front porch for him to find at a later time. So he felt that he couldn't get rid of her and it was just really messing him up in his head and his life around him. So we met up with him in a public location. He wouldn't tell us where he had gotten the doll from, but after we had taken her, he said he felt a lot better. We followed up with him once and then he disappeared. We haven't been able to contact him since. It's like he was never around, but she is definitely one of the most haunted objects in our museum because she doesn't play nice with others. We had a doll section over here that she was actually incorporated in a case. And what's funny about that is she's no longer in a case because she keeps getting out of it in the museum. She doesn't like it very much. And all the dolls' heads would turn around completely 180 degrees backwards. If their head couldn't turn, their entire body turned. This happened about 3 times until we realized they were all facing away from her. So we had to move her to the shelf and she stayed there happy ever since, but she moves a lot.
Right. So in this video clip that you're going to see, it's actually this angle. We have a security camera up in that corner over there, and you're going to see this wooden structure behind us here, and Liza's sitting on the top shelf all the way to the
Right there.
behind Satori. That's I don't know which direction this
Right
is.
there.
So what you'll see is her, and it'll show a red circle around her. And what happens in this video is something that we recorded quite often, believe it or not. But this is the best example of her moving, which is crazy because this happened in 2018.
2:30 in the morning.
Around 2:30 in the morning. Absolutely gives me chills every time. We've watched this over and over again.
And this isn't sped up. This is how fast it happened for people that are going to watch this video.
Okay. So let's introduce to you the amazing Liza and give Cody the chills again. Here we go.
That's creepy.
She just picks herself up and adjusts her position.
A little close-up view. That's now. Check this out. Hello.
You're freaking him out.
Liza the doll, ladies and gentlemen.
She does that a lot.
She does. That's definitely the most movement we've seen. So definitely is something around her. An inanimate object shouldn't definitely not do that. We tried recreating it for a while, and she's defying physics. She's going against gravity, picking herself up and putting herself
It's
down.
like
That's
she's
just
alive.
it's just not something that
Correct.
that's supposed to happen.
It's that's a good way to describe it, kind of going against gravity, because it's not exactly an arm falling, it's an arm lifting, it's a body lifting.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm spent. I have another boy, you're coming fast and furious in chat, but I want to get to one more thing. Our friend Erin Bush, I think that Erin, has a question for you. What do you do to ground and protect your energy? I would imagine that in an environment like that, obviously you haven't been harmed by anything. And I hope that remains that way. But are there just like a certain thing, or like you had mentioned before about intentions?
Sure.
I'm not suggesting you go through some type of ceremony every time you bring something in, but I don't know, how do you just kind of ground yourself?
Yes. So a lot of people follow up this question with what is our religious beliefs? And we say everything because we believe everything kind of believes in the same thing, just in a different way. You believe in a place you go after death, a good and evil, a way of protecting yourself. So we kind of take everything and incorporate it in. So for example, Cody was brought up in a Roman Catholic household. So there's crosses and prayer cards and holy water, things like that. I'm more spiritual. I incorporate crystals and sage and things like that. That's what I love. And it is intention, Ken. You had it right. You hit it right on the nose. We do have an intention because we may not do things like other museums. We grab things with our hands and we talk to them like they're our family. And we do that to everything. We lay down ground rules. We tell them they can come and leave as much as they want, but they can't come in the other part of our museum. And we tell them, you respect us, we respect you. And that's how that works. And it works every time because we show them love, but we keep this protection wall around ourselves when we do it. So I think that's just, they understand the mutual respect, whether they are supposedly good or negative, and we kind of keep our space from each other, but just show that we care about them.
Right. And what's always been, led to great results on investigations, in-home investigations, and Ken, I know you'll say the same. We always recommend that our clients set ground rules and sit around the table as a family and talk out loud. And set your intentions, set what you want, your rules of your house. And we do the same thing with the museum. Respect is everything, in our opinion. And
we don't show fear because we believe if you show fear to the object or to the spirit that may be attached to that object, that spirit and object begins to own you instead. So we can never put ourselves in a corner and show fear. We put our foot down. We always put our foot down.
George, did you have something? You want to jump in there real quick before we get to the meat and potatoes here?
No, I think, again, there's a lot of flow in the chat room with regards to what they're hearing, what they're experiencing. And I think that, again, that video tells it all right there. It can't be any more of a great segue for what we all came here for tonight also, Ken, because we have more proof. Now, I have a little bit of a monologue that I need to go through before I turn it back to you, Ken, and before we get to these videos, because as I said at the beginning of the show, you and I had numerous discussions about how we were going to approach this. Years and years and years now, and Andrea Perrin is in the chat. And when she and I would go on these lecture tours, one of the things I would always say is someday someone in this field, whether it was a location, whether it was a procedure, whether it was a piece of equipment or a technique, was going to eventually break down this wall of communication. And Ken and I both laughingly said a few weeks back, we just didn't know it was going to be somebody we knew. It's not somebody we know, it's family. Cody and Satori are family, part of this paranormal family, part of our family here with Dead Air, part of Ken's group. And it's astounding to be able to reach out and have this dialogue with somebody involved with something so profound where we are with this. I equated this to the atom and what it could harness, and what this could harness is immeasurable right now, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I and I was thinking about the movie Contact, and I mentioned this before too, where when Jodie Foster meets supposedly her father, but an alien in her father's form, and he says baby steps. I want to run with this already. But in talking with Cody and Satori and in their communication, we need to understand patience. We need to understand baby steps, and we will get there. But where we are at right now, to me, uh, the word profound just does not do it justice. With that, Ken, if you want to go into the videos, or you want to go into more
Sure.
of the setup prior to that, how this all began with them back in 2018, it's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I think that the best way to proceed, and not to tease this out, is obviously you guys are in a relationship, hence the paranormal couple. So you have a certain connection to each other. And that was all anybody really knew. And even though other people knew about it before I did, and you've explained to me why. You kind of took your time with me a little bit. We weren't really together, a lot because of COVID and everything. But somewhere along the way, you discovered something about yourselves, about each other. And this just sort of came out of the blue. So before we go any further, why don't you take us back to that time where something happened? You had an event there together, and you found that there was something a bit unusual about this relationship and your connection with each other. So before we do that, let's set that all up. How did this all come about?
Do you want me to start, or do you?
You ready to do this?
This is nerve-wracking. My dad even told me one breath at a time, so we're going to do that. So it all started in August of 2018. This was the first time Cody and I had met. We were going on a case in Connecticut, and I hadn't met him yet. He actually messaged me when I said I wanted to be on the team professionally, and he said, "Hey, it's on the way. I'll come pick you up on the way there." He felt the need to come pick me up. Little did I know it was actually an hour off route to come get me, but he did. And we went to this case, and we clicked instantly as friends. We were great friends, and it was just some sort of awesome connection like that. I brushed up against his shoulder while we were doing a event. It was literally just a quick brush up against the shoulder, and it sounded like footsteps were running all around this building. We stopped, we looked at each other for a minute, and everybody in the room and everybody on the Taps home team said, wow, this must be a really active location. So we rolled with it. We didn't understand what it was at the time. Couple weeks go by, it happens again and again and again, and we were kind of oblivious to what was going on. We didn't understand that was when we had contact with each other. But after a while, we had a case, an overnight case, and that's kind of where we figured it all out.
Yeah, we definitely stayed up all night, and you know,
Nobody was around at this late at the case.
yeah, and it definitely was active. We had come to the realization that when we hold hands and connect, it's almost, in my opinion, you know, I don't know, we're not mediums, we're not like seeing spirits or anything like that, or sensing what's happening, but I believe it's when two living energies, when they fit together like a perfect puzzle piece, it's kind of like flipping on a switch, and I think that's what's going on here. It's just something that we haven't seen before. We stayed up all night, you know, just trying this out, and we were making contact. I mean, you could hear footsteps. We started doing this yes and no technique, you know, spiritualist movement. That was, you know, the first techniques that they were using.
We were getting answers. People were there, and they were like, "I can finally talk to you now." They were answering our questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so Satori,
We were scared.
so I think it was Satori that came up, you know, let me spell the alphabet, and if you have a name,
Or
knock
a
on
word.
the letter, and
Yeah.
so you go through the alphabet. The first letter, knock. Second letter,
This
knock.
was like 24 hours of straight just asking
Absolutely
questions.
blew us away, and you know, we couldn't sleep. We had to stay up and just ask questions and see what was going on. So once we figured out how to do this, we didn't tell anybody, because
We were afraid that one half of the people didn't believe us, so the other half that did would be terrified of us.
Yeah.
So we kept it a secret.
I mean, I, you know, grew up investigating. You know, ever since I've been on a team, I've always been a very, you know, data, coming from a data point of view, and you know, electronic point of view, and
Right.
a very unbiased and common sense type of person. Definitely not a metaphysical approach kind of dude. And when, you know, I met Satori, this all changed, and you know, I just can't explain it. It's one of those things that we can't explain.
And it's
It works.
growing. It's always growing.
It works. And you know, that's all I can really say.
I want to just preface going into this that we were at a place where I'm not going to really at liberty to disclose where it is. When you see the videos, you might gather or make assumptions. But we were sitting there one day, and it was really kind of an unremarkable investigation, not a lot going on. And Cody had said, "Hey, Ken, do you mind if we try something?" And yeah, I don't care. Just go right ahead. So they came to the middle of the floor, and they held hands, or she held his wrists, and immediately this tapping on the floor started. So we let this go for a little while. And I actually have a clip I'll play in a little bit of me getting up and walking right over to them, and literally hearing and feeling the floor tapping beneath my feet. At one point, it moved away from me, and I followed it, and I went maybe in a half circle. It went 180 degrees from where I was standing to the other side of them. Okay, so that was my first exposure to it, and this is not about me in any way, shape, or form. The second time, a lot of the video you're going to see is we went on another case, not with the intent of employing this, but we just went on a case. And then eventually we got to the point, hey, go ahead and do your thing. So we had 6 cameras plus a FLIR camera on them. The FLIR camera, it didn't really, like, you guys didn't turn purple or anything. So it really didn't show anything. But I want to play a clip right now. It's only a few seconds long. We have quite a few we want to get to. But this is an example of what happens there. So I'm just going to play it for you, and you can draw your own conclusions. Here we go. So fireworks.
I guess it's a physical thing.
And as soon as contact, you disengage from each other, it stops. And I've seen this quite a few times. Now, I know there's going to be comments. I'm going to let George do those at his convenience. when he chooses to put those up. So in another location, different night, I want to give everybody another demonstration of what happened here. This is a different location with a different camera angle.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved this one already.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay. If you're here, can you stomp your feet as soon as I make contact with Cody? Ready? I want to show them something. You ready? All right. So, wide, please. Can I have your attention? Please. You can stop. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have a communication. And I want to tell everybody that those knocks haven't been amplified in any way. Now, what we had done, because this was the second time around, with their permission, we said, hey, listen, we don't want to like turn you into a lab experiment, but we need to film this from like 6 different angles. They're like, 2 thumbs up. Go ahead, go for it. I had placed a recorder on the floor. So essentially what you're hearing is what we heard. They haven't been amped or anything like that. And one more before we start getting into something that's really incredible. As I mentioned before, when I got up out of my chair and I got to see what's going on here. And I mean, Tori, your dad, you explained to me, he did the same thing,
Yeah.
So this is, an honest reaction. And in this, it'll give you an idea how organic this is, because we had a camera there, but not knowing what was going to happen. Satori is kind of off camera. You barely see Cody because we hadn't set this up, because this was the first time I heard anything like this. So this is kind of what it looked like.
I'm gonna walk over, okay? Okay. Maybe you can walk around. We can't explain it. My dad's walked around us for 45 minutes straight and checked our shoes. He didn't know what this is. That's why I took my shoes off, because a lot of people ask.
I don't want to disturb what you're doing. I'm just, right now, I'm a little flabbergasted.
Yeah, we've kept it a secret for 3 years now.
Dude, I'm telling you.
So,
Can I ask you something? 1 for yes, 2 for no, okay?
Okay, so that is one confused puppy right there. And that's me. That's my first reaction to what the hell am I listening to?
I need to interject here, Ken, too, because, and again, we're seeing some great responses in the chat, but this is one of the things that I want to basically bring up right now. Now, in this particular case, 100% legit. They have done it in our home a couple of years now. We've talked to all of our past relatives through this method. There has to be at least a large percentage of the people that are right now in chat who know who Ken DaCosta is, who knows Ken's reputation. Here's a man who will go to the end lengths to find an explanation that is logical before jumping to the conclusion that it's paranormal. And as, again, the conversations that Ken and I had over the last few weeks, I had asked him questions. Yep, did that. Yep, did that. Yep, we tried this, and this is what we did also. And then he even went further when he addresses the pain house here in a little bit. But those people that are out there in the field know the reputation of Cody, of Satori, and of Ken, that these are straight up people here. So before anybody, and it still will, because as people will watch this, and Ken mentioned this the other day, they watch this after the live show. They may go into the comments, oh, it's all fake and it's all, and go right ahead, because you're going to do that. You're going to do that, and we don't care. When you know these people personally, you understand that this is something that we take seriously. This is something that is mind-blowing and breathtaking all at the same time. Sorry to interrupt, Ken. Go ahead.
No, please. And we don't intend tonight to keep making that speech. So George has spoken for all of us.
We
At
have
this
we
point,
have nothing to gain from this at all. I
No.
mean,
We're not looking for money. We're not looking for fame. And we realize that, hey, whether you believe us or not, everybody's going to figure out the answer one day when we pass on to that next life. So I'm not going to spend my life trying to prove my credibility to people. You
absolutely.
believe us or not.
Okay. As George mentioned, we don't have clips yet of the pain house, but we literally even put cameras underneath them, on the floor underneath them and things. And it's not to test them. It is try to address some of what we anticipate is going to come. And when we do, that's fine. You know, have at it. All I can tell you is that's the reaction in that last clip of somebody who did not know what the hell was going on here. It's the first time I've ever seen this. I walked over, it's on my feet, it started moving away from me. So now we get into, the real meat and potatoes of this. I'm going to play a clip here. We've got a little while before break. This should take us almost through. It's about 4 minutes long, where they are literally going to address someone that they don't know in taking a shot at it. This is the John Rogers clip. And there's only so much of this, and I had talked to Cody about this. I talked to George about this. We don't want to leave breadcrumb trails to these people because they have surviving members of their family that we're going to respect. The name we're going to come up with is a very generic name. It's a very common name. There are others that were contacted that aren't so generic. So we don't want anybody out there being the smartest person in the room who's going to track these people down. So we did the best we could with this. But this is what happens.
Amazing.
And we've seen this happen when actual contact and answers are made. Do you guys want to say anything about this before I start it?
Just keep your mind open.
Okay, keep your minds open. I'm going to let this rip. It's about 4 minutes long. Enjoy.
Are you with the lodge? 1 for yes, 2 for no? Yes, okay. So, I was wondering, could we get maybe a first name? If I go through the alphabet and I get to the letter of your name, you knock, and then I'll restart and we'll spell out a name, okay? So I'll start going through. Are you ready? Give us your first name. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, J. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, O. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Jonathan? No. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. Is that
John.
just John? Oh, I'm sorry. Could I get maybe a last name with that? If you're comfortable? Just so we can know. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, R. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, O. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G. Roger? Okay, John Rogers. Well, it's very nice to meet you, John.
Are you looking for somebody?
One for yes, 2 for no. Can you do that again? Okay.
Somebody that's alive?
Okay, can you give me their name so I know who to look for? Was it the last name Rogers too? Okay, first name. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Where are we?
Marge? No?
A,
Margaret?
B, C, D.
Margaret? Is that what you said? Margaret.
Margaret? Okay. What do you want to say to Margaret? You tell me how many words. Okay. First word, how many letters? I. No. A. M. Okay. Okay. I'll see if we can pass that message along for you, okay? Okay, we're going to take a little break, all right? Okay, bye. All right, yeah, break. All right. So, John Rogers is looking for Margaret Rogers.
Margaret Rogers.
Yeah, we have to write that down.
I mean, come on.
I am speechless. I let that stand for itself.
I always get emotional too because it's a person that I'm talking to, and that it's my responsibility to get that to where it's supposed to be, and it's just a lot of emotions. So.
We have, there is more. There is more to confirm this type of thing, and I want to get into that right now before break, about 3 minutes.
Yeah, come on over here, John. Can I ask when you passed away? All right, I'll go through the centuries and then the decades and then the years, okay? 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, 2000s, okay. 2000s, 2010s, 10s, 2000. Is it 2000s before the 10s? Oh, no, 2010s. 20. 2020, you passed away. 21.
This year.
Oh, you're recent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, all right. Do you want me to get the date, or do you want to just read it? Yeah, okay. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We've been,
Count.
yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. September 15th, 2021. Okay.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Do you all watching live and watching post live show understand what's happening here? The implications. I know you do in chat. Cody, Satori, and I can understand, Satori, where you're getting emotional because I am too. What this means, and I know we're short on time. We only got 3 minutes before we go to break here, but I need to let everyone know when we are on the second hour, and our very, very good friend, John Zaffis, is going to be joining us talking about his experiences with Cody and Satori. But we are going to address some of my questions that I had for Ken, for Cody and Satori about those particular directions that we could or should go with this communication. And they eloquently explained to me what they are capable of, what they have tried. It is mind-blowing. There's been nothing like this in the field. They are true conduits. And all I can say at this point in time is you have blessed us. Thank you so much for the connection of what you two have created, the conduits that you are, and trusting in both Ken and I to be able to reveal this. And some of you, again, that may be naysayers now or later on after the show's gone live, that says, well, they're on wood floor, so no one. They have done it outside the Conjuring house. Tell them about that. We could give it a short version of it. You got about 2 minutes. Cody Satori, what you guys did.
Yes, so we've gone to the Conjuring House on several occasions. Jen and Corey are amazing people, and they've helped us. They've actually given us advice, helped us do what we can do a little bit better for people, so we love them. But they had some theories. They throw ideas like, hey, can you do it in places where there is no bottom floor for people that are questioning? Maybe somebody's under the floor with a broomstick. Maybe you're using something in your shoe. Who knows? So we decided, let's try it out. We went outside, and it does work. It works on grass. It works on pavement. It just sounds different. It sounds echoey or like a thud that you would thud on the ground. So it doesn't sound any different than what we really do. I love you guys. Absolutely amazing. Madison, I love you.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know how it works, and watching it play back is definitely emotional. Because it's a this is a person that we had never met before, and he lived, he had a life, and he has a family, and he's reaching out to say he's okay.
Guys, I just brought you somewhere.
Yeah,
I just brought you somewhere. Here's the address. Show up, and I know we got to cut, and we got to go to break. Folks, there's more to come on this.
So much more.
So just hang with us a little bit.
Yes. You guys that are with us right now, and please, at this point in time when we're at break, if you're able to share the link and get other people in here, they need to know about this. This is unprecedented. We have now gone to the next level with these incredible people. We'll be back on the other side with Cody and Satori and Mr. John Zaffis joining us. You're watching Dead Air Live on Dead Air Full Spectrum. We'll be back right after the break.
Hello, I'm Tony Rathman, one of the hosts of KGRA's Monday night show called Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. If you have not had the opportunity to see this show, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you. We cover fantastic paranormal evidence captured by our Entity Voices team, as well as bringing on experienced and up-and-coming investigators who share with us incredible paranormal captures.
Right. Yep. And it doesn't, because it's gone by then.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's gone from the camera view, but
right.
That's a great way of putting it. It disappeared from the camera, tracking it. Right.
You can see it after.
If you watch it, that thing doesn't disappear. It's just the camera doesn't pick up the action of the movement. Right.
It does pixelate, and then it actually looks on our big screen. I don't know if you can tell, but on our big screen we have at the facility, you can actually see the pixelation. Then it darts into the wall.
Oh.
Wow. Let's play that again.
Yeah. You can't see her anymore.
Whatever it transformed or materialized into that caused the pixelation and it to vanish visually, it was of a fine enough matter or of a vibrational level or something where the camera no longer knew it was there.
Right.
Exactly. It was lost to the camera.
Yeah, that's the coolest. That's an awesome capture. But of course, when I saw this, I had to mess with it. I had to zoom in. I had to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
I had to mess with the lighting. So, Chris, go ahead and play the one titled Frank's Shadow. All right, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. That is as legit as I have seen.
Watch us live on kgradb.com on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific Time. As a special bonus, if you enjoy Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence and would like to support the show and the entire KGRA network of shows, please use promo code 21EVPE to receive a 30% yearly discount to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence and the entire network of shows on KGRA. Thank you, and we hope to see you in the chat room Monday nights for Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence, and don't forget, stay haunted.
That was our good friend Tony Rathman, and the man of many hats, as far as I'm concerned. He's always getting himself involved with, whether it's producing or hosting these shows, and then one hell of an investigator. Make sure you guys do check it out. We are back for the second hour. We've got a lot more exciting things coming your way. You know, Ken, when you actually titled the show tonight, The Paranormal Couple and the Nexus of Spirit Communication, I had to look up the word Nexus. You nailed it. Look at this. A connection or series of connections linking two or more things. And we have achieved that finally, really have achieved that. You know, say what you will. I've always been a proponent of the spirit boxes for many, many years. And there are things that that were produced that I can't explain. And there are people out there that swear by their REM pod or swear by their flashlight or their Kate. Nothing compares to the discovery that has been made by two incredible individuals. The people who are the proprietors of their haunted museum and good friends of ours. Let's bring them back, Cody and Satori. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
I'm still kind of dumbfounded by what is transpiring, and I've known about it now for several weeks. Obviously, again, in the chat, there have been many people who have been participating with you with this endeavor. And when this happens, when you're going out to do an investigation, whether or not you're doing it for the show, whether or not you're doing it with Rise Up Paranormal, what is the overwhelming response, or have you come to expect the same from everybody at this point in time when they're right there present with you and they realize that this is legitimate?
Well, video is one thing, but being there in person is completely different. Feeling the footsteps, hearing them walk in.
Allow you to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually, corners seems to be a big thing. They seem to walk in from corners a lot, which is very interesting to us. But being there in person is amazing. And, this isn't the type of thing, that like I mentioned before, and I just want to reiterate this. This is something truly special, and we could never see ourselves making money off of something like this or anything like that. So the people that we're helping, they're just crossing our paths naturally, and if something comes through, something comes through. We've never had good luck calling certain people forward. It's usually people that have some sort of message to give, and that's what happens.
The only time we've ever really gotten mixed messages is if it's something where that person may not need a message, or they're just too skeptical to really be there and witness it in person, which is okay. You believe what you want. So it's something where we can't force it. We can't do it for anybody that asks us, hey, can you do this for me? That's not what it's about. It's if it's supposed to happen, it will happen, and we just let it come to us naturally, and that's when the best response happens.
Yeah. Well, when we were going into this, and how many conversations I had with you before we even decided to do this show tonight. Do you want to do this? Is this something that you want to put out there? And I know, so many people have already experienced this with you, and we're going to be welcoming one of them in to tell their story. But I had asked you specifically, about your guardrails on this.
Yeah.
And you talked about intention. There's that word again, right? Your intention on this, because it's not a question. And I speak from experience on this. I don't know how much we want to go into this, where I've had my own experience with you looking for something else entirely, just trying to get answers in a location, Pain House. We've talked about a lot on the show, where we've been there for 9 years. So let's try to get something definitive rather than, the hellos and who is this little girl who remains there. And her parents come through and they talk about the little girl. And the next thing you know, we're making contact with somebody of a more personal nature with us. And I'm glad Julie DeMay jumped in to this right now, because it was her, Mark Purcell, Melissa Spite, Missy Reese, who had all the cameras going on this. So a big shout out to them for camera placement and all the rest of those things, because we were just trying to help you in this journey, because I know you're trying to figure this stuff out and it came upon you quickly. Someday it may go just as quick.
God, I hope not.
But in the meantime, I told you how I feel about being involved in this. You've, made, almost 50 years of doing this worthwhile for me, because I know it wasn't time that was wasted.
Yeah.
And that, we
Amen.
all have the daggers thrown at us. But when something like this happens, it just reinforces the idea that there is something noble about pursuing this. So I think we wanted to give you that chance, and you started on it. As far as how you view this going forward, because we use terms like, being the circus monkeys and, everyone's entertainment. And, we never want to get to the point where you're that.
Right.
And that's why we had boundaries set on this show as far as what we were going to show. So
Yeah.
it's your opportunity to speak your own piece on that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So right now it's almost been, like another tool in our toolbox as far as investigations go. I've always had a love for investigating the paranormal. Of course, EVP has always been a big part of my life, and trying to record spirit voice. So of course, I'm always going to still do that. And we've come to locations where we do this. We hold hands, and there's not a spirit there that has a message. And so we never want to like book appointments with people or anything like that, because we can't promise anything is going to happen. This is a very unnatural thing that happens, and we can't control it.
At the end of the day, we feel that this was something given to us for the sole purpose to help people. It's not something for us. It's something for the people that we're just bringing to the people. So it doesn't matter if 100 people hate us, as long as we help that one person that needed it. And that's how we're looking at this for the future. It's just a tool. It's what we use to help people. And that's the entire point of it.
Yeah. I always believe that everything happens for a reason, both good and bad. There's always a reason behind everything. And, I think every person that each of us cross paths with along life, I think, we're meant to cross their path some way or another. And, when we go on investigations or things like that, or when we end up in places, like the Conjuring House or something like that, or just friends' houses, we'll kind of hold hands and off to the side. And if there's somebody that comes through for somebody that's there and they give us a yes, usually that person is willing to take whatever message is coming. They're already open to the possibility of communication, which is amazing, because we've never given communication to somebody who wasn't willing to accept it and knew exactly what was going on. It's amazing.
This is again the first step, I think, of many, guys, where we will get answers that we've been wanting for the longest time. As we discuss, and we can discuss this a little bit later on, we have a guest in the queue we want to bring on here. but there will be others that may never be answered for obvious reasons to us because we've been in the field for a while, but maybe not to others, but it will be explained. But for Ken to get emotional, for me to get emotional during this, and I know it's another umbrella under the paranormal field or another part of the umbrella, is this is like a first contact, a true first contact, and we're all feeling it because we know where this may take us. And if the testimonies so far have not been valid enough, you can ask for a greater example, someone who's been in the field for a very, very long time, somebody who's been respected in the field. And we are so happy to have him finally join us here on Dead Air Full Spectrum. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our good friend, John Zaffis.
Hey, guys. How's everybody?
Hi, John. How are you, buddy?
Good. Good to see everybody.
Good to see
Good
you.
to see you. How's your summer, man? Where you been? What are you doing?
Dude, I'm hiding, man. It's fucking COVID. Oh, I'm sorry. It's see, that's what happens. See what happens? I haven't had any Panaugis, George, so again, it's rough, man. It's rough.
Put the kids away. Put the kids away. John's here. There we go.
That's great.
Oh, it's good to see you. We had, Cody had said that you very graciously had offered to come on, and we jumped at the opportunity because you have had your own experience with exactly what it is we're talking about tonight, and we've shown some clips. And, I want to get right into that, John, because I'm curious to know what the first thing that went through your mind, because I showed a clip of me looking like an idiot, just like walking around like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Again, I was taken back with the circumstances and the way things were going on. Now, Jen and Corey, I'm very, very good friends with them. And Jen kept saying to me, she says, John. And I go, what do you want? And she says, you got to come upstairs. You got to see this. You got to see this. And I know her well enough. And she had that look on her face. So anyways, I went up and they were doing, the communication with the tapping. And they were going back and forth. And I just stood there. I have, and I had told them I had witnessed this before. I've seen it. I was around, and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was telling you, I remember it was recorded a couple of times, but the sounds never came up. I think I was talking to you guys, about that later on that evening. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting about the whole scenario was the communication that got established, and they were going back and forth with. Unless these two kids took a lot of time to do research, there's no way. I call him Beanie, and that's my Hawes kid over there. Guys know me. I love to joke around. But anyhow, but I won't curse. I'll be good. Anyhow, when they got it established and everything, there was several people in the room. I do believe there was one or two people that were recording it that night when we were upstairs in the room. I'm not 100% sure. But as it was going back and forth, I can remember it. This is an old method with the tapping. Tap, once for yes or twice for no. Then they were doing the alphabet. I was so taken back by it because I haven't seen anybody do it in so many years. Mm-hmm. But as it was progressing and they were getting into it, I heard the sound. As soon as I started hearing the sound, I went to myself. I go, that's a familiar sound. I know that. It's a weird sound. It's almost like it's a little bit muffled, but yet it's clear enough where we can hear it, and it's not your ordinary sound. Mm-hmm. But when you get the repeatability and it's coming through, and they were getting things that were coming clearly spelled out and everything, I just stood there and I was in amazement. And, again, we had my mother-in-law come through to ask for Cheryl, my wife, to tell her hi. When I came back home that night, I told my wife started crying because she, geez, I've always wanted to, hear from her or everything. I said, now here's what was an interesting twist to this is my father has never come through. My father didn't believe in the paranormal. He didn't believe in nothing, period. And he started coming through, communicating, and he kept referring to Warren. He kept saying Warren. And everybody kept looking, and they were going back and forth. I said, you're not going to understand that. I said, because, his name is Warren Mining. That was, and I used to call him Uncle Warren as long as there were no people around. If there were people around, it was Ed. So anyhow, my father would never refer to him as Ed. He always called him Warren. The both of them were going back, having a conversation, talking, and the both of them had piped up, and they both had said, "You don't listen." Well, that's true. We know that. I don't listen to nobody. But the conversation was going through and carrying it through. Then they were referring to my grandfather, Frank. Then they were referring to my mother's older brother and Ed Warren's brother, Frank. He started coming through, and I'm like, "This is too much." And it was building, and it was building, and I was standing there and listening to all of it, and I just was so intrigued by all of it that so many family members and both of them will tell you that I just stood there. I go, this isn't adding up. Why is all my family coming through? I said, we're hearing from members I've never, ever heard come through. And I was just so taken back by, all of it with the communication that was happening. And if you guys can remind me, because hopefully you might remember better than I, there was a point in time where something that came through and it really jolted me and I got emotional. But I can't remember what it was because there was so much coming through.
I remember so many different things. There was one where I got starstruck because Mr. Warren came through, and I remember at one point he said something like, "Pay attention to these two here." And I was like, what does that mean? Did I do something wrong? And no, he was just saying that there was something going on. So I remember
the first thing he said to you, the first thing Ed said to you was, "How are you, kid?" That's the first thing he
you're right. Yeah.
How are you, kid? And we were looking at each because we thought he was talking about like a kid, like a kid, a real kid.
Somebody, I believe, that said "I love you" to you. And you left I think you had to take a break because it was just so emotional. And we all had to take a break.
Yeah. Okay. And the reason I'm remembering that was my mother-in-law, my wife's mom, and her name was Sally, but I always called her Sally Sarah. Sally was her name. Sarah was her alter ego, and you never knew which one you were dealing with. Remember I was telling you guys about that?
Yeah.
And from my mother-in-law to come through, and she was saying, Sarah, she said Sally, and she said, "I love you." My mother-in-law wasn't a very emotional she didn't show much emotion, with the older ones, the grandkids and stuff, and I remember that. Then I had to take a break because I remember I just stood there and I started crying. I said, and the only other thing I remember, and I don't know how anybody didn't hear me, is I turned around and I said, where the F is my wife now? I said, she really needs to hear this. Yeah. But again, it was a very, very emotional and very charged thing because you guys were able to get it documented. It was happening. And when you were getting the repeatability, that's what we look for. And that's something that helps us to be able to substantiate a lot of the things that occur and happen. And I remember as we were wrapping up, we were all down in the living room, and that's when I was explaining to you some of the two other situations I had down there, where the black figure, as I refer to as the Banshee, whether it's Bathsheba or who is, I don't know who it is, but anyways, the point of it is, the last time I was there and she came through, I turned and looked at Debbie and Larry Elward, which were there. And I said to him, if that Banshee comes back again, I said, I'm going to have a freaking fit. I said, because the last time she came through up there, I came back home and I had heard of a very good friend that had passed away. That's the only time with me that this Banshee character shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is all this going on with the Conjuring house? And no matter who it is, any of these guys will tell you, I always say it ties in with everything. I've even told you guys that the property, the land, the buildings, there's so much that ties in with it that I just think that, it's the collective of all of it that triggers that. Okay. So I was so charged up and everything. I couldn't go home. What do? I take the back roads home that night after we were done with everything. I said, let me go look at a couple of pieces of property. Here I am, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, out looking at property, driving home. I finally get home, and I think it was like 4:35, 5 o'clock in the morning. Cheryl was a nervous wreck because the old man just doesn't stay out that late anymore. So, and I came out, and I logged on, and memories came up on Facebook. That was the night my mom passed away. And that freaked me out even more because then it was making more sense to me that, I understood why my dad was coming. My sister, Dee Dee, came through.
Right.
Because it spelled out Dee Dee. And that was another time where I got upset when that came through. And I'm going, you guys would never know that because that was my nickname for all the kids would call her Dee Dee, Aunt Dee Dee. And her real name was Karen. But again, it was just a super in charged type thing, and it hit me like a ton of bricks when I came back and the memories came up. That was the night that my mom passed away.
Wow.
How freaky was that? I mean, again, I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything lines up. Everything happens for a reason. There's no doubt in my mind with all that stuff. We can't prove or disprove a lot of different things, but man, oh man, that was one supercharged night. It really, really was. Yeah. I mean, the original intent for being there was for the ghost hunt, the worldwide ghost hunt. And here I am. I got so wrapped up with everything else. It was like, again, just one of those types of situations.
Yeah, I was in a similar one, John, when we went to Payne House, which you've been to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I asked them to come in. So after 9 years of walking around in there, we could maybe get some definitive answers, and we did. And then suddenly, the camera person, Julie, her brother comes through, who passed away, spelled out his name.
See?
And then suddenly, out of nowhere, my mom, who says, my sister, who passed away a few years ago, is with us. Then spells out my two surviving sisters' names. Tell them I love them. And this is just, we didn't go in like, hey, can you reach out? No, we were doing something entirely different. And then I guess the craziest part was the last name that came through. They were like ELVI, and I think we're all thinking the same thing. Is like, is Elvis showing up? What's going on here? Right?
Oh,
but it turned out they spelled out Elvira, which was my grandmother's name.
Isn't that awesome?
My mother's mother. I mean, and these are not Karen, Mary. I mean, these are specific. And I got to tell you what, and the cameras were running that night too, and it's like I could have gone on and asked 100 questions, but at that point, you know what? I'm good. I gotta go. I gotta take a walk. So I know how you feel.
Yeah, it's again too when all these things line up, because all of us have lost people close to us, and again, it was always something where I never want to reach out to any of family members or friends or anything. For the longest time, when people, and George can even attest to this, when Ed would start coming through or anything like that, I would deny it. It would be like, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. And then it just amplified where there's just so much documented evidence. There's so many people that have witnessed this man coming through and communicating that it's just, again, it's just something I can't rule out. Mm-hmm. But, again, there was something else I had remembered, and it was bizarre. And I want to say, I think it was a Good Friday Ash Wednesday. It was an Ash Wednesday. And we had to go do an investigation. And this is one of them. One of the stories I was telling the kids that we were there. It was Ed, it was Lorraine, myself, two other researchers, and the woman was sitting there doing a communication, and she was getting the taps and the raps and the muffled sounds. And I was watching Ed when all this was going on and everything. And me, I'm looking underneath the table. I'm looking up. How is she doing this? But it's that one sound that gets made that I can distinguish it from any other sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain it to people, but it's just different. And these two are naturals at it.
You know what's funny, John? It's like we keep inventing things, all this technology, and all the rest of this. And this is what does, like, as an old guy myself, does my heart good. That rather than invent the next thing, like turn this into our own perceptions. It's like the human condition. And here we are, and the best thing I've ever heard is what? Taps on the floor. Has nothing to do with things lighting up and beeping or anything like that. It's the most elementary of things.
Which takes us back to the basics again. For those of you that are just joining us, a very special guest tonight, the paranormal couple, Cody and Satori, and John. John, it's nice to see that you've mellowed over the years.
Are you cooking any bacon? I'm looking for some bacon. Where's the bacon?
No, bacon boy's retired. But John, I'm glad that we have you on. For those of you who've been under Paranormal Rock, again, John Zappis, the Haunted Collector, but he's also a renowned demonologist. And I need you to address, and I've been doing this throughout the show because I have to take the counterpoint side of what is transpiring here and be the voice of all these naysayers that are going to be out there, because why not shut them up now? Sorry, I got to put it in those terms. But for those who say, well, how do we know that it's all relatives and it's not, take it to the theology perspective of this field, demons that they're tapping into your memories, they're tapping into your knowledge, and they're just trying to manipulate you. And what do you say to those people again? Because everything so far to me seems absolutely benevolent and emotional and fantastic. It's a wonderful connection to it, but somebody out there is going to try to find the negative connotation within this. Do you see any firsthand experience so far?
No. Okay. The main reason that I do not feel that there is anything negative or demonic that ties in with this, because again, well, you two know me better than anybody else, and I'm the last person to scream demon, even though I'm a demonologist. There is so much that we don't understand. There's so much that occurs and happens. I mean, I go back to I shouldn't say that. I don't go back to the beginning with the spiritual movement because I wasn't around back then. But okay. I have studied it in depth. Again, with the communications, the rapping, the tapping, the tables, levitating, and a lot of that, 35, 40 years ago, being involved with that. And again, these are certain things that I've seen when people come together and you get that collective of energy, psychokinetic energy, as we refer to it, can build and come together and can have things occur. There's no way that I'm going to ever take a stance on saying that, all these different things are evil or demonic. They're not. They're just, again, I think it's a lot less today. Again, I don't know. Then again, I've been hiding for 2 years from COVID, so I don't know. But anyhow, with a lot of this stuff, people have to have an understanding of it, that things aren't clear cut when we deal with the supernatural, because that's what it is at the end of the day. Taking the Catholicism end out of it, the religious end out of it, or the scientific end out of it, there's just too much that we do not understand. There's too much that happens that we, as individuals, experience. The things that occur and they happen. That path has already been lined up. They're supposed to happen in the process, of different things occurring. Now, on the flip end of it, to turn around and say that, nothing happens on a negative level. No, I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to be hitting 50 years being involved with the paranormal. Can you imagine that? Next year will be 50 years. I wanted Jubilee, and I want it bigger than the Queens. But anyhow,
we'll throw a clam boil for you.
But again, dealing with it from all the different spiritual perspectives, Native American, Buddhism, shamanism, Christianity, Judaism. I've dealt with it all, and when seeing the true fact of it and watching when a person is possessed, there's no disagreement that these things do occur and they do happen on a spiritual level. Now, you could go on the flip side of that, George. Why do so many different belief systems, when they do their different practices, work? I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is that I've come to the conclusion that I look at it that the positive will always outweigh negative, no matter which way I look at it.
This is what I like. This is what I like. And Cody Satori, I need you to respond to this, because in our pre-show discussion a couple of days ago, we brought this up, and you guys already thought about this, which is no surprise to Ken, no surprise to myself or to John, how you went through this analytically since 2018 and having this dialogue with the other side, asking specific questions, and what can and can't we ask? Where do we go with this? What about the monetary gain part of it, which was quite interesting too? So if you could speak on that, and then as soon as you guys answer, I know that, and John, we'd love for you to stay because Ken has a few more clips he'd like to play also. But Cody Satori, tell us about that dialogue with the other side about where those restrictions seem to be.
Well, you want to start with that?
Well, yeah, we definitely asked a lot of questions. Of course, when you make contact with the other side, of course, that's something that you want to know is, what's going on? Where do we go from here? And we were given kind of very open-ended answers that we definitely understood that, you're meant to do this to help people. And, we don't know what spirits were telling us this, but you're meant to do this to help people. The people that, you're going to help are going to cross your paths naturally. This is not something that you're meant to
It's not for you. It's for them. You're just bringing it to them for us. That's kind of what we were told.
Yep.
Yeah, amen.
You're not supposed to make money off of this at all, which we 100% agree.
We fear that if we were to even do that, like, what if this goes away because of that? That's not what it's about. So we just don't want to do that anyway.
Right. And, the reason why we kept it a secret for, like 2 years was because we didn't know what to do with it. We were like, okay, do we just not tell anybody and just, keep this under the radar and just, tell a few people if somebody's there to come through and talk with them, which is what we did. Because, this is something that I don't think it's definitely a big pill to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow when you have direct communication, especially for investigators that have been going out looking for this for many years. And sometimes the only thing you get is a voice or something like that on an EVP or something. So to get such a direct communication and a response that makes sense, that can be validated, is definitely, it still blows me away every time we do it. So it's definitely a lot to take in, and it's something that shouldn't be, sensationalized and stuff like that. It's only should be meant to help people. That's the primary goal, and that's all we've been doing.
So you won't see us trying to sell out theaters and stuff, trying to do readings for people. But for people that have the question in their head, we have asked so many questions, even questions that are probably racing through your mind right now. And the simple answer to that is they will not answer, or they will tell us that maybe we're not meant to know this, or they don't even know. So there are some things that it depends on who we're talking to. So it just seems that maybe there's some things that aren't supposed to be figured out and aren't supposed to be answered until we get there ourselves.
Yeah, I want to play this clip because it answers some questions. The question is, are spirits aware of each other? That gets asked a lot. There may be one, more than one, in a certain location, but they have an awareness. So as we went through this night with Cody and Satori, this is actually kind of funny. We sort of got a kick out of this, but we were asking for that gentleman, Mr. Rogers, to come back, and someone else came through. So Cody sent him on an errand. So I just want to play this very short clip for you.
John Rogers? Arthur?
If you know John, can you grab him? Are you able to bring him over here?
You try. Thank you.
Take a break for a
Yeah,
second.
I'll take a break.
All right.
I don't know who it is, but they said they could try to find him. What?
Where to find him? Hang on.
He's at the bar. The host is around.
Like I said, we can't control it. If they're here, they're here. If they're not, they're not.
Yeah, I kind of got a kick out of that. It's like, we have another question for John. Could you go get him? It's like, sure, be right back. Which I thought was like, it's kind of funny, but it's like fascinating at the same time, because the longer version of the story is he came back and it was for one specific reason. And you guys will know that everybody was looking for the fastball and I threw the slider because I wanted to ask what his occupation was. And in his obituary, he obviously has a fireman's suit on with the hat, the dress uniform. So my question was to ask him if he's a policeman. And it wasn't to trip you up, but I had to do it. So for those of you naysayers out here, this is pretty cool.
Is this John Rogers? Yes. All right. So what is your question on this here?
So, what was it? Was he a policeman?
Were you a policeman? A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Fireman? He was a fireman. What, was that right?
Trick question.
Was it a trick question?
Thank you.
This idea. It was a firefighter. No kidding.
Well, do you have anything you want to say to him?
Cody looks at me, he's like, that's a trick question, you son of a bitch. But it was one of those things where I knew the answer because we were in another room, and we'll actually, I've got a couple more clips, but we'll hold off on those for a little bit. We were in another room researching all this in real time as it was happening in the other room. So when we pulled up the obit, there he was, retired fireman. And I asked the question, was he a policeman? And it's like, no, I was a fireman, and spelled it out. Remarkable. Unbelievable.
Ken, isn't it something when, again, looking at the big picture of it, and when these things are occurring and it's happening right there in front of us, and these things get thrown out and they get verified. You do the same thing that I did. I had to take that step back and go, whoa, and just take it in.
Mm-hmm.
But it just totally amazing. Again, too, Debbie and Larry Elward that night. They, again, I mean, I know Debbie. She's a very tough as nails. But anyhow, her mom and her dad came through, and she got emotional. So again, it was, when she had said to me afterwards, she says, "He's never come through," and I said, "This whole freaking night is awesome. It's just freaking awesome. For me to stay up to 5:30 in the a.m., let me tell you something. I haven't done that in years."
And risk having Cheryl beat you with a pan on. I know, right? George, you're gonna go into this a little bit.
Yeah, and again, I am speechless and have been since this was presented to me. The clips were presented to me from Ken. The story, I remember when Ken called me the next day and said, I got to wrap my head around something after his first experience. So I can only empathize with John and Ken with what transpired. But again, I probably grilled Ken too hard on that very first day with all my brilliant ideas where we can go with this. But it's important to note because again, time with this, we could probably do another 2 hours just on this because there's so much to cover. And I hope as things progress and there's more recordings that we can have you guys back. But my next question I have to ask again for Cody and Satori is there going to be a progression with regards to the spirit contact? In other words, and what I presented to Ken, as you are doing this, and to me, this is going back to the movie Contact. Again, we're just getting the prime numbers right now through this communication. There's the possibility, hopefully, excuse me, along the way, where you could say to them, is there an easier way than the alphabet that we can move forward with you guys? Are you able to manifest if we ask you to do so? If not, why? Things of that sort. So, are you guys plotting, planning, scheming for the benefit of your clients? And again, that's the most important thing is helping people. Are you looking at advancing this or working on advancing this over the next months or years?
This started with barely anything. It started with simple little light footsteps until we were able to, use our energy for it. Yeah, it started with baby steps and it worked its way up. And, we hope it stays here forever. It seems that it's something that's only when we're together, and it's just grown stronger from here. So who's to say that, in a couple years' time, it won't be even bigger than this?
Right. It has, we've seen a natural progression because when this started, we would try to record what was happening just to document it for ourselves, just to see the progression. And nothing would happen when we turned video cameras on. It just wouldn't work. You'd either get the video with no sound, like John said, and it would just be no video. So over time, I think there was a trust that had to be made. That's the only way I can describe it, because over time they slowly allowed this stuff to be documented, and I think documented for the fact that when we're connecting somebody's loved one, it's something you want to remember. It's something. It's an event that you want to remember because it's one of those things that is definitely life changing for the person. Because we've read so many people that somebody that comes through for them that they've been missing for so long, they get the validation. Sometimes they have like a secret passcode that they've made. I know Crystal, that was in the comments, that her mother came through and they had a passcode before that her mom passed away, and that was the validation to know it was her, and her mother said the password to Crystal, and that's something that you want remembered. So recording and things like that became an option. It was one of those trust things that we had to say, listen, we'll follow your rules. We're not going to make money off of this or anything like that. So we're not going to publicize you at all. And we'll do what you say. And then it just kind of opened up even more.
I'm not laughing about that. I'm just laughing at the fact that the first time we showed Mr. Zappis, he went, "Does your father know about this?" And he held it with my face. And I was like, "Yes, he does."
Yeah, but no, you were more nervous about me calling up your mother.
I was worried you were going to call her up and say that I was causing trouble, because you always threaten to do that.
Well, we're in a position right now with the information we have, and that's why we don't want to leave breadcrumb trail, because it's not fair.
Right.
Because in that particular night, the premise of this thing was, is there a message for somebody?
Yeah.
Yes. And they told us who. So, I mean, moving forward, I feel an obligation, and it's a slippery slope to approach somebody and say, listen, I have something here from your husband, your mom, whoever it is. But I just feel that obligation now, because that was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Which is why we don't want to, go too crazy, because the families aren't even aware of this yet, so just something now, we have to deal with.
I have to go with this question, and this is the last one that I really have for you guys, but it's critically important. Now, if this were not an instance where it's the people that are creating this, the conduits, the two of you, if it were a device in the wrong hands, it could be a weapon. It could be an opportunity financially. In this particular case, you've been given the parameters. Would you say in time, over time, that you could find out how this could be replicated with other people, so long as they understood the intention, so long as they understood it was in the factor of helping, that John and Jane Doe come across you during a case particularly, and the spirits say you can show them and they are going to be able to do it as well. Do you hope for that in the future?
I don't really know, because as horrible as it sounds, and I'm not trying to hate on the human race or anything, but humans are horrible. We are horrible. So I fear that a lot of people would say they have good intentions for this and then go back on their word.
Weaponize it.
So it's something where there had to have been a lot of trust. I don't know if there are any other people that can do exactly this. We've never seen anybody that can do quite this. Maybe one day we'll find that other people can do something or some sort of variation of this. And when they do, I hope they are the good people for that job.
At least that's around and are, alive that can do this, because we definitely look forward. I think I truly think, and I don't know this for sure, but I truly think something inside me, and I always go on gut feelings, something inside me says that if somebody was to start using this for personal gain or something like that, I think it would go away. I think it would stop. I don't think it would work anymore.
And I'm not the kind of person that's just like, okay, everybody, we're so amazing. This is our thing. We're not like that. And I don't know what makes me different than somebody else that has a good heart. I know that I'm not any better than anybody else. So I don't know what it takes to be able to do this. So I just hope it's good-hearted people that are able to do
I think it's a case where you didn't find it, it found you.
Oh,
It's as simple as that. I want to go here. We got about 10 minutes or so. I want to go with another clip. Set this up real quick. We had left that room that we were in and went in a different room. And at that point, we're looking for another date of death for a different individual. And at this point, you're going to see everybody who was in that building in the same room at the same time. And Cody and Satori decide, well, let's do it here and now. A little bit longer clip, not that long, maybe 3 minutes or so. But this is what happens in a different room.
Cameraman?
Yes, hi.
Oh.
Ooh, very loud up here.
Are we staring at no picture right now?
Ooh,
I'm trying to. I think I'm recording now.
He's behind you.
Okay.
He's over there.
Sir, can we ask when you passed away, please?
Okay, I'll go through the centuries and decades and years, all right? 1800s, 1900s, 1900s, 2000s, before 2010, early 2010s, 20s, 10, okay, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 2017. Can we get a month? Okay, January, February, restart. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 21.
Your birthday?
My birthday of 2017.
You passed away on your birthday?
From 17.
That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait, is this your photo over here, Linwood?
How many here with you?
Look at this.
Good.
I just searched it.
Look at the picture.
November 21st, 2007.
Thank you,
Oh my
Linwood.
God.
Wow.
Right?
I literally just Googled it.
Now we have to
Camera
search
caught the whole
obituary
thing.
for
Now, how about
Arthur Ryle.
Off the
and-
Royal.
Yeah. Okay, so mind you, all you folks out there, all you nice folks out there, you're not in the same room, different room. Everybody in that building is on camera. Not one of us is doing anything but watching these two reach across. And in real time, they got a name, they're searching, they hit the nail right on the head. So, my mind is blown. I'm amazed, speechless.
I would like to close out this show with, first of all, thanking Cody and Satori for, again, your trust, for your efforts, for the incredible blessing that you have been and continue to be with regards to the paranormal field. And Mr. John Zaffis for joining us and sharing your stories, your emotional stories about the connection to your family through the paranormal couple. John, 30 seconds. What advice would you give to these kids? And they're not kids; they're adults. These young adults.
Well, they're both smiling because we had the kumbaya moment, and we talked, and I think them doing and following their path, following what in the way they are doing it, not letting anybody push them around. Let them follow their own path, their own journey. If it's meant to go into a different way, it will. Yep. It's lining up the way it's supposed to. The both of them are thinking with a clear mind. They're not letting anything influence them, which is fantastic. And that's again, that's how you have to do it. That's what I did all these years. I just went along and followed that course. If my gut instinct told me not to do something, I don't do it. I don't care. I follow through with that because it's not really at the end of the day when I look at any of this that the monetary value is going to outweigh those journeys and outweigh some of those experiences that each and every one of us have. So again, Satori, I could still remember that night you were shaking and you asked Debbie, do I dare do this in front of Mr. Zaffis or anything like that? And she goes, he's just, go for it. She said, there's a reason for it. And there was. Yeah. There was a reason for that to occur and happen. Follow your journey. Follow your path. Your gut tells you something isn't right. Follow it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
And there is a message, clear as day, even though they have elevated in what it is they're doing as far as the communication, that should give each and every one of you that message to listen. Listen to your own instincts. Listen to the messages that are going on around you. Your loved ones are there without question. And if we have an opportunity down the way and things have changed, we'd love to bring Cody and Satori back on again. You can, again, find them on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. Follow their journey. It is going to be a blessing, a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And it's so glad to see you, John. You look fantastic. I don't know how you still got all that color with all the snow going on up there, but we thank you.
I blend in. We blend in after a while, buddy.
He's like a snow leopard. I was like, see, I got the same deal here.
I know. John, Cody, Satori, stay with us. We're going to go ahead and close out the show. I want to talk to you guys for a little bit afterwards. Thank you all for joining us again. Hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up, and the reminder bell. We'll be back with you next week at the same time. Until then, thank you so much. Have a great night. Take care.